Good morning. Today is May 6th. It's day 36 of lockdown in Shanghai. 5 weeks stuck in this apartment. But today I am leaving China. I don't know how I feel. So many emotions that I feel nothing. So it's been really hard to book flights here. Like literally all of the flights get cancelled and we had to be really strategic on which ones we chose. And this is the departures board right now. Oh my god. Our flight. The only one. 6 hours from now. So everything is closed at the airport. Everything. Like no food, nothing. So I made pasta for both of us. Antonia is doing some last minute packing. Yay. We just spent 1 hour in customs and immigration being interrogated by scary Chinese men.
Take away your passport, throw your phone at your face, literally shout at you in another language, and then storm off and leave you for an hour and 10 minutes, not having a fucking clue what's going on.
Fun times.
Thank you, China.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Captain speaking. My name is Brian Lau. On behalf of
Best fucking meal I've had in 35 days.
Warm bread.
That's fucking how many course meal is
Got
this?
watermelon.
I have not seen fruit in 35 days.
Watermelon. That bread smells really good.
It does. It literally does.
Coke. Haven't had Coke in a while.
So we landed in Hong Kong. That flight was really nice.
It was so lovely.
Cathay Pacific are so good.
Considering we got on and we were literally crying
Yeah.
about those tissues, and then they were like, oh my
So
god, you're going
nice.
to London, I love London.
And then we just got off the plane and there's already people waiting to like take us to the right place to transfer. So Antonia just said to me like, where do you think these foreigners have come from? Like, where in China? And then we had the realization that we're in Hong Kong. They could have come from anywhere in the world.
How mad is that?
Like, I think we've been slightly brainwashed from being in China for too long.
There's so many foreigners, and I'm literally like, wait, they're not foreigners, we are literally the same. And I feel like we've been living
This
in a
is so
dystopian
strange.
future, like Handmaid's Tale, and now we've just broken free, and we're like, wait, what?
Yeah,
This is
this is
normal life?
literally strange.
Everyone else in the world can travel. Like,
We haven't been locked in a country.
literally- Not even thinking about the past 40 days that we spent locked inside our own apartments. The past 2.5 years,
We've
the
been
world
stuck
has
in one
literally been
country.
normal, and we've not left China.
Wow. We left our apartments in Shanghai 26 hours ago. Not home yet.
What are we doing, Lou?
Give her a hug, you horrible child.
Okay, story time. I've been back home for a few weeks now, and this is my experience of Shanghai lockdown. So back in March, I had just moved into a new apartment in Xuhui district. I had moved into a lane house, so it's not a high-rise apartment building. So at the start of lockdown, I found my way into a group chat with everyone in my community, which made it easier to order food. I could actually walk outside a little bit around my community. Everything was fine until a few days later when I tested positive for COVID. Now, I just want to say, no one in Shanghai is scared of getting COVID. They are scared of the consequences of getting COVID, which is being taken to a COVID camp. These places have inhumane conditions, they're unhygienic, and you're surrounded by sick people. So as you can probably tell, I was terrified of being taken away to one of these places. Some of my friends also tested positive, so everyone was in the same situation. Luckily, we found some group chats of other foreigners who had tested positive, and we discovered that a lot of foreigners weren't being taken away because China didn't want the bad press. They didn't want videos of these places being put out onto the internet so other people around the world would see what China is doing. Not all of these quarantine centres were the same. I had a friend that was taken to an indoor swimming pool, an empty pool, and he stayed there for 14 days. Other places were incomplete building sites. So, after 3 days of being inside, someone from my community came and put a seal on my door. It was a big sticker, basically saying that I'm positive and that I shouldn't go out. I saw this as a really good thing because if they're sealing me in, there's less chance of me being taken away. Also, at this point, I'd like to point out this graph. As you can see, most people with COVID are only infectious for the first few days of having the virus. But in China, we don't just do lateral flow tests or antigen tests. We have daily PCR tests, which can still detect the virus after 2 weeks, which you are no longer infectious. It's not going to be passed to anyone, but still, zero COVID. Even though the seal on my door made me feel a little bit more safe, every phone call with an unknown number, every knock at my door, every noise that I heard outside, it was terrifying. We were living in fear of being taken away, not having control over your own life and like where you were allowed to go. if being locked in your apartment is bad enough, then no, we'll take you away so you have to stay in this place for 14 days that's inhumane conditions. I was very lucky in that I had a supportive neighbour across the hall from me. There was a couple times we had food deliveries from the government. She would message me and tell me if no one was around so I could open the door and get the food, because otherwise I would have had no food. And also I'd like to point out that I was also lucky because I lived in Shanghai district where a lot of retired government officials live. So I was receiving food boxes every 2 days. Whereas Amy, as you've seen in her vlogs, she received nothing for weeks at a time. Apart from this one neighbour, there was also other neighbours. They were throwing bleachy water at my door. There was a few occasions where it actually flooded my apartment and went under the door. And there was many days where I was woken up to the sound of this bleachy water being thrown at my door aggressively. So one night, I got a phone call from an unknown number. At this point, it's about 13 days after I tested positive. The person on the phone said, "We're coming to pick you up later tonight." I instantly panicked. I called my friends who were also positive, but they had received a negative test by now. I was still waiting on my negative test result. I thought I was still positive, and I was packing my suitcase, panicking. I was crying. It was horrible. Luckily, someone from my work in HR had contacted my community and this number that called me. They told me I had a negative test, so I didn't need to go. Such a lack of communication on everyone's part here, that no one had told the people coming to pick me up that I was negative. I had not been told about my negative result. It was a mess, but it was okay because I was negative finally and I was not being taken away. So as soon as I knew I had a negative test, this is when I started planning my escape. I knew that this lockdown could go on as long as Shanghai wanted it to. For as long as there's the zero COVID policy, there could be lockdowns whenever China wants there to be a lockdown. So I thought the best thing for now was to leave China. It was very hard trying to organise a 48-hour test before, booking a driver with a licence that could cross the river, getting permission from my community to leave. And the hardest part was finding a flight that was not going to be cancelled. And when we got to the airport, there was one flight that day. It was ours. And none of this would have been possible without the many WeChat groups for people leaving China. So if anyone needs any help with this, I'm happy to share these groups with you. Just leave a comment below. The people of Shanghai have suffered in so many different ways, and everyone's experience of lockdown has been so different. And this is just my experience. Ultimately, it was a really difficult decision to leave Shanghai and to go home. I love China. I've loved living in China and traveling China and meeting so many people and making so many friends along the way. But I am so glad that I am safe and home. Everyone keeps asking me, when are you going back to China? But the answer right now is, I don't know. I think as long as China keeps the zero COVID policy, I won't return. But maybe in the future I'll go back because I already miss it so much.